Hey guys, it's Brett from Arm Body Martial Arts, and today I'm going to do a video response about nunchucks. So let's go. Okay guys, so first off, we're going to do a look into Shadiversity's Nunchucks Are Stupid video. He's a really big channel on YouTube, and someone asked me to have a look at the video. Now, in the background here, you can see me doing nunchuck. And this is also part of my response to this video, because this is not, I repeat, this is not how we're going to use the nunchuck in today's video. Now that might seem strange to you, but all will become clear. So all the 1970s martial arts film use of the nunchuck for this response can go out of the window. And we're going to look at something far more traditional, real, and practical, and easy. The real way to use the nunchuck. So what we're also going to do, guys, is I've got my big 6 foot, like 80 kilo boxing bag set up here on the tree, which I use. And I'm going to do a 2-minute something constant striking video in one take. To prove that I don't hit myself when I'm doing any of these strikes. So I'm going to clarify a few points now. I'm going to show you guys the way of striking. I'm going to show you the strike test, and then after all of that, to stop people getting bored, then I'm going to gas on about a few other points. So if you want to see the striking and stuff, that's coming up very shortly, and then I'll talk about all the other points afterwards. You can watch the striking. If you want to listen, you can. If you don't, you can leave. And have a nice day. Okay, first off, a bit about the nunchucks I'm using. These are telescopic steel pipe nunchucks. They weigh a good couple 100 grams, and they're pretty heavy for a nunchuck, even though they're quite thin. They're the usual standard length, and the center of balance for them is sort of in the middle of the handle there. So I actually agree with a lot of what Shadiversity says about his assessments of the nunchuck as a weapon, but I think there are some points that we can add and clarify about the correct and proper sort of real fighting use of the nunchuck based on traditional Okinawan methods, and also non-display Chinese methods. So I'm going to talk whilst you guys watch this. And what I want to say is the nunchuck is a very simple flail weapon. Now, with very simple basics done correctly, and not movie flashiness that everyone knows, we can use the nunchuck in an effective and a devastating way. First off, you can see where I'm holding the nunchuck here. Yeah. Now everyone gets tired of the weight of the nunchuck and they always hold it up higher, but this is at least traditionally, this is not the correct way to use the nunchuck. This is developed from sport and films where people want to look flashy and they want to go fast and they want to spin it around. Now here's another point that I've got here for Shadiversity, is that you can't hit yourself in the face with a nunchuck if you are someone who's used to using it, because as you can see, when your nunchuck is held, it should not be able to reach your face. So when you're training it, you keep the nunchuck out at arm's level with a straight arm, you know, much like the correct holding of a sword stance or posture, and then you can't hit yourself in the face with it. So that's just a quick one. So guys, this might all look pretty boring and crappy. It's certainly not going to go anywhere in the Hollywood films, but this is the more traditional and realistic way of using the nunchuck, as a simple flail with wide, long movements to counteract the force of its swinging. It's held low so that it doesn't hit you in the hand. You're also holding it low so that it's got maximum reach, which a couple other people have said, and you're also holding it low to increase that striking power. Okay, let's go and do some of the striking tests now, if anyone's still watching at this point. We can pick those to pieces. Let's go. So I'm going to strike on this heavy, dull object. I'm going to make sure I try and dull the strike or kill the strike on impact, in effect allowing all the force to sink into the bag. Now it doesn't look that powerful at this point, but I'm going to demonstrate these strikes on that the Makiwara wooden board on there, which I guess would better replicate like a head or a skull, you know, with a soft exterior and a hard interior. And you're going to see how devastating these strikes are on that. So there's one strike, two strikes, and by the third strike the board is already split. Fourth strike and the board's broken, and not even that much effort. So I was a bit annoyed here because this is my favorite Makiwara board, and yeah, it's had some good use and it does have some splits in it, but it was absolutely shattered from just those few strikes. So for anyone who thinks the strikes aren't that strong, it just goes to show the sort of striking power that you can get with the nunchuck easily, the flailing power. So we're going to keep striking here, and you're going to notice two different kinds of strike. There's like a strike where you dull the power and try and kill it into the bag, and there's a whipping strike where you might strike all the way through the bag, and it comes out, it's sort of, the nunchuck will flail past like that one. Those ones are the ones where you're most likely to hit yourself. The ones where you dull the strike into the bag, you're least likely to hit yourself. A bit like a Muay Thai kick that sticks. Okay, as I was showing there before, Shadiversity said problem with the nunchuck again is the range. If someone comes closer, you can't deal with them. But as I showed before, you can just bundle it into a double batten, and you can just use it as double batten techniques. Sometimes you would start using a nunchuck like this with like 5 or 6 or 7 double batten strikes, and then you'll let it flail out as a person like tries to escape and gain distance, which I think I did in one of my demos. And again guys, we can slow this down. You can play it on micro 50, you can do whatever you want, you can zoom in on my hands, and you know, I'm not trying very hard here, and I'm not trying to look good, and I'm not trying to be good, and I really just have not hit myself at all during any of this. Now, there's one thing I'd like to say here. There's a reason in Chinese martial arts that flexible and semi-flexible weapons are considered to be some of the most difficult weapons to use. And obviously this is a culture that just uses all sorts of insane weapons, and that's because yes, there is a likelihood that you will strike yourself. There is a likelihood that they will be unpredictable. But part of your training and part of the expertise in using these kinds of weapons is the ability to sort of foresee and absorb the shock with your movements. And that's why, as you can see, as I'm doing here in a very simple way, and you'll see it if you slow-mo a lot of my strikes, after every strike there is a kind of a movement back. I always move back with my whole body. So I don't strike and stay where I am. I'm always striking and moving back with my body. I'll try and find a slow-mo for you guys, or just chuck it in slow-mo and have a look, but you'll see there's a noticeable movement all the time, an absorbative movement. So although Shadiversity raises some good points about the nunchuck in general, I think one of the downfalls of his criticism of the nunchuck is the user error. Yeah. Now, I don't know the guy and I don't know his martial arts experience. He can obviously use the nunchucks, but by his demonstration that he showed, he was just trying to use them in a kind of demonstrative, sort of sporty kind of way, and perhaps, which he may have done, but perhaps if he revisits his traditional Okinawan Kobudo study of nunchuck, and just tried to revisit them in a more simple, easier way, and not like the Bruce Lee way on the films, he would have a lot more success with the nunchuck. So I also find this a bit confusing because he, as a person who's obviously very educated in all kinds of weapons use and historical weapons use, he should or does know that every weapon has to be used in a specific way. Usually, some weapons are more forgiving, and you know, if you try and use a longsword like a spear, it's not going to work. If you try and use a flail like a sword, it's not going to work. You know, I'm sure he's got a lot more examples between him and Scalagrim, or however you pronounce it. But in essence, what I'm trying to say is you have to use the tool in the correct way, like it was intended. Okay, Shadiversity then says that you might as well just have a stick instead of a nunchuck. Why not just carry a stick? And he's got a very good point. Of course, user skill level doesn't need to be as high, but the way of addressing that is that obviously the nunchuck is a concealable weapon, so it's like a 3 foot or 3.5 foot stick that you can collapse down, you know, and put behind your back or conceal very easily. So I guess that's the reason why the nunchuck has remained as a usable weapon, due to its concealability, and also due to a bit of its fear factor when it's wielded. Also, I think the notion that a stick can actually hit harder is open to debate. You know, force equals mass times acceleration. You do have a whipping force with the nunchuck, so I would be interested to see someone try and measure that. But the acceleration on the tip of the nunchuck, you probably could get it to accelerate faster in a whipping motion. And also, like if you ever hit like a bag or something with a stick, the weight, a lot of times the force can just transfer right into your hand and sort of jolt into your hand, and that obviously doesn't happen with the nunchuck, so the force is separated. So maybe you could even hit something harder because you don't have that shock going into your hand. But then on the plus side of that, you also have the worry of the nunchuck flicking back into your hand. So who knows? I used to use a solid steel pair of nunchucks of mine to smash bricks with. I'd put a brick down, I'd hit the nunchuck on the brick, and it would smash the brick. And yeah, I guess I'd be able to do that with a steel pole, but when I tried it with the steel pole, the force like shocked up the steel pole into my hand. So that's an interesting point there. Okay guys, well there you have it. I hope you enjoyed my summary of why the nunchucks are actually a decent weapon, although they do have their downfalls. In summary, you just gotta go back to basics and be a little bit more simple with them and not expect them to be what they're not. Go back to real training, real Budo, fighting martial arts, simple use of them with basics, and look away from the stuff that you see. As much as we love it, look away from the stuff that you see in the Bruce Lee films where he's flicking it and all this, which is stuff you can do, but obviously you need that core basics training to know exactly how it works before you start flicking it around, and then you wonder, you know, you can do some changeovers and then you wonder why it doesn't work. You're holding it in, well, it's debatable, but you're holding it in the wrong place for that, for what you expect it to do. So in other words, if you expect it to go fast and twizzle it around quickly, then that's fine. But if you expect it to be an impact weapon that's going to hit properly, and it's going to cause damage and it's not going to hurt you, then the least you can do is hold it in the right place. So it'd be like me holding a sword by the blade and then hitting stuff with it and saying, why has this sword cut my hands? But this is by no means a criticism on Shadiversity. I'm just pointing out some points based on my training, which has been since I was like, since I was like 5 years old, I've been doing martial arts, and now I'm 34. Nunchuck was a favorite weapon of mine, but also is like searching for the true way of using weapons, like a proper way, you know, not flash. So I made a few video replies to videos that Icy Mike and Sensei Seth has done with the staff weapon as well. They did a video saying how effective the staff is, and I did a little take on that. So guys, there's a bit of a coverall policy here. I'd like to say I don't think I'm some big giant expert. I don't think I'm Bruce Lee. I don't think I'm better than Bruce Lee. I'm just a guy who does his training. I didn't even put a gi on. I didn't even put a shirt on. I was in jeans, shorts, and freaking flip-flops. You know, for God's sake, yeah. So, but what I wanted to show with that is that that's the way I am, that's the way I train. Well, not always in flip-flops, usually barefoot, but it's not what's on the surface that matters with the martial arts. It's not the twizzling and the flowering. It's the genuine study to find points. And that is what Shadiversity does, so it's very good. But there's a lot of other channels that criticize things and criticize martial arts, and they don't genuinely study the fine points. They just look at the surface. So anyway, but that's a different topic. But anyway, guys, look, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Have a look at my other training videos. You'll only see 10 years of effort on this channel of me trying to train and look up and study traditional old methods of conditioning and training and stuff like that. People who watch the channel know. So please do like and subscribe, support the channel. Go on Patreon if you want to support the channel. Buy me a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee if you want. But like and sub, and yeah, enjoy your training. Go back to basics. If you're interested in iron palm and iron fist training, check out my well-rated course on udemy.com.